Grace was invisible to the world, a single mother trapped between poverty and routine. Everything changed the day she was unjustly accused of theft at work, in front of a crowd that did not know her. But from that public humiliation, an opportunity was born that would transform her life forever. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you are watching us from. We continue. I promise this will be the best story you will hear in your life. The alarm clock went off at 5:30 in the morning, just like every day. Marina opened her eyes slowly, feeling the weight of exhaustion accumulated from so many sleepless nights. The small bedroom was bathed in gloom, and through a crack in the worn-out curtain, a sliver of light announced another day. She sighed deeply before getting up, adjusting the hair tied in a loose bun she had made the night before. There was no time for vanity. There was no time for much of anything, really. Marina was 32, but her body carried the weariness of someone much older. It wasn't the years, but the weight of being a single mother, of caring for a 7-year-old daughter, and a mother who needed more and more attention. The weight of waking up early, working all day, and coming home only to start another shift. The weight of never truly resting. She got up carefully so as not to wake Sophia, who slept beside her in the double bed they shared. The flat was too small for each of them to have their own room, so Marina and her daughter had slept together since they moved in, 3 years ago. It wasn't ideal, but it was what they could afford, and Marina always made a point of teaching her daughter that what mattered wasn't the size of the space, but the love that fit inside it. She walked silently to the flat's kitchen. It was a simple place in an old building in the Peckham neighbourhood of London. The peeling walls told stories of decades, and the furniture was old but well kept. Marina always made a point of keeping everything clean, organised. It was the least she could do for the place that housed her family. The small refrigerator hummed quietly in the corner, and the faded red Formica table occupied the centre of the room. There was a photo stuck to the fridge door with a heart-shaped magnet. It was an old photo from when Sophia was only 2. The two of them were smiling at the camera, hugging on a sunny day in the park. Marina looked at that photo for a moment, feeling a pang of nostalgia for times that seemed simpler, even if they had never been easy. Helen was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee in her hands. At 68, she still had a lively look in her eyes, despite her body showing clear signs of fatigue. She had worked her whole life as a healthcare assistant in NHS hospitals across London, caring for patients, changing dressings, offering words of comfort in the most difficult moments. She did this for more than 40 years, until a series of health problems, including severe arthritis in her legs and uncontrolled high blood pressure, forced her to retire earlier than she would have liked. Her pension was modest, barely enough to help with the household expenses, but Helen never complained. She said she was lucky to be alive, to be able to see her granddaughter grow up, to have a roof over her head. "Marina, my love, did you sleep well?" Helen asked, though she knew the answer. She always asked this question every morning, like a ritual of care. Marina smiled faintly, the kind of automatic smile you give when you don't want to worry the ones you love. It was a tired smile, but a sincere one. "I did, Mum. And you? How are you feeling today? Are your legs any better?" Helen shrugged, taking a sip of the strong black coffee she had prepared. She never liked coffee with sugar. She said the bitterness kept her awake, alert. "Same as always, love. My legs ache a bit, but nothing I can't handle. Do you want me to make some fresh coffee? This one's gone cold." "No need, Mum. I'll drink it cold. You shouldn't have woken up so early. You should be resting." "And let you leave the house without eating anything? Not a chance. I made you some toast with butter. It's there on the table. And there are bananas, too, you need to eat. Properly, Marina. It's no use working so hard if you don't look after your health." Marina sat down next to her mother and ate quickly. It wasn't a lavish breakfast, but it was made with love. And that somehow was enough. The toast was warm, Helen had probably heated it in a pan, and the butter melted smoothly over it. The two of them spoke little, just exchanging stray words about the day ahead. Helen asked if Marina thought it would rain, because her knee was hurting more than usual, a sign of changing weather. Marina replied that she had seen on her phone that the weather was unsettled, that perhaps it was best for her mother not to leave the house that day. Marina glanced at the clock on the kitchen wall and realized she needed to hurry. It was almost 6 o'clock, and she had to catch the 6:20 bus if she wanted to get to work on time. "Mum, Sophia is still asleep. She needs to wake up in half an hour for school, okay? Her backpack is ready, and her packed lunch is in the fridge. It has the juice box she likes, and the cheese. Sandwich. Don't forget to put her cardigan on her because it's chilly. Don't you worry, my love, I'll take care of her. You be careful, you hear? And don't forget to take your umbrella. The sky looks overcast. The weather in London changes in the blink of an eye these days." Marina nodded, took the old umbrella that was hanging behind the door, and kissed her mother's forehead. Helen's skin was warm, soft, and smelled of the glycerin soap she had used for years. Marina felt a wave of gratitude. Her mother was her rock, her anchor. Without her, she wouldn't know how to make everything work. She went to the room she shared with her daughter. Sophia was sleeping peacefully, her serene little face under the thin duvet with a butterfly print that Marina had bought in a sale months ago. The girl's brown hair was spread across the pillow, her cheeks rosy, her lips slightly parted. Marina leaned over and kissed her daughter's forehead, feeling a pang in her chest. She wished she could stay there, in that moment, without having to leave for work. She wished she could see her daughter wake up, have breakfast with her, take her to school, pick her up at the end of the day. She wished she could be present for every moment of Sophia's life, but life didn't allow for such luxuries. Life demanded that she leave before the sun came up and return when it was already dark. "Bye-bye, my love. Mummy loves you so much. So much," Marina whispered before leaving the room, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. She grabbed her worn-out bag, a black fabric bag that had seen better days, placed her folded work uniform inside along with her company ID badge, and left the flat. The building's corridor was silent, lit only by a yellowish bulb hanging from the ceiling. Her footsteps echoed on the cold concrete floor. As she went down the stairs, Marina passed the building's caretaker on his morning rounds, Mr. Oswald, a man in his 50s, always friendly. "Morning, Marina. Off to work early today, are we?" "Every day is early, Mr. Oswald. Good morning to you too." "Looks like rain today, you know. Best take that umbrella. Those clouds don't look friendly." "Already got it, Mr. Oswald, thank you." She pushed the iron gate of the building and stepped out onto the street. The air was damp and cold, typical of a London winter morning. Marina pulled her thin coat tighter around her shoulders and began to walk to the bus stop 3 blocks away. The streets were still semi-deserted, with just a few cars passing by, and the odd hurried pedestrian walking with their head down, shielding themselves from the cold. The trees on the pavement swayed in the wind, and Marina could see her own breath forming little white clouds in the chilly air. At the bus stop, a few people were already waiting. 2 women were talking quietly, probably work colleagues. An elderly man was reading a newspaper, his hands trembling slightly in the cold. A young woman was scrolling on her phone, earphones in. All of them wore the same tired expression of someone who wakes up before sunrise to earn a living. Marina leaned against the bus shelter and waited, clutching her bag against her chest. The bus took almost 20 minutes to arrive. When it finally pulled up, it was already packed. Marina got on through the middle doors, tapped her Oyster card on the reader and looked for a place where she could steady herself. There were no seats available, so she held onto a metal pole and stood, swaying with the movement of the bus. The journey to Mayfair would take at least an hour, depending on the traffic. The bus made its way through central London, and Marina could see the imposing office buildings out the window, their glass facades reflecting the grey sky, the pavements starting to fill with people. She rested her forehead against the cold glass and let her thoughts wander. She thought about her daughter, imagining what her day at school would be. Like, Sophia was a smart, studious girl, always bringing home good marks. Her teacher had said at the last parent-teacher meeting that she had a talent for maths, that she could go far if she had the opportunities. Marina wanted to give her daughter those opportunities. She wanted Sophia to study, to go to university, to have a different life from her own. That's why she worked so hard. That's why she woke up early every day. That's why she endured everything in silence. She also thought about her mother. Helen had been aging quickly in recent months. The pain, In her legs was worse, and she had difficulty getting around. Marina knew that soon she would have to think about hiring someone to look after her mother during the day. But how? She could barely pay the bills each month. The salary of a cleaner wasn't bad, but it wasn't enough to cover all the expenses. Rent, electricity, water, gas, food, her mother's medication, her daughter's school supplies. There was always something missing. There was always too much month at the end of the money. Marina sighed and tried to push the heavy thoughts away. It was no use. Worrying now. She had to work, do her job, go home. One day at a time. That was how she managed to keep going. The bus finally reached her stop, near Bond Street. Marina got off and walked the remaining 2 blocks. This stretch was always the most surreal for her. Suddenly she was surrounded by a completely different world. Designer boutiques, expensive interior design shops, sophisticated restaurants, art galleries. The pavements were clean, lined with trees, and the cars parked on the street were all imported. BMWs, Mercedes, Porsches. Marina saw a woman leaving a clothing store carrying several paper bags with gold logos. She was wearing a fur coat, enormous sunglasses, and speaking into her phone in a loud, confident voice. Marina looked away and kept walking. The staff entrance to Maison Lavelle was at the back of the building, on a side street. It was a discreet, unglamorous door, where all those who made the store run but were not to be seen by the customers entered. Marina swiped her ID badge on the electronic reader and entered the narrow corridor that led to the changing rooms. The corridor smelled of disinfectant and had white-painted walls lit by fluorescent lamps that hummed quietly. Inside, other employees were already changing. Rose, who also worked in cleaning, greeted Marina with a nod. Julia, who worked in the staff kitchen, was finishing tying her apron. They greeted each other quickly, each lost in their own thoughts and worries. There wasn't much room for conversation there. Time was short, and they all had a lot of work ahead of them. Marina opened the metal locker that had her number on it, hung her bag on the internal hook and took out her uniform. It was a light grey set trousers and fair top with the Maison Lavelle logo embroidered on the chest. She changed quickly, tied her hair up in a tight high bun, and put on the comfortable shoes she wore for work. She put the clothes she had been wearing in the locker, took the small key on its chain and locked it up. In the storage room next to the changing rooms were the cleaning trolleys. Marina took hers, already equipped with all the necessary products, cloths, brooms and tools. She checked that everything was there before pushing it to the service lift. Her shift officially started at 7 in the morning, and she always made sure to be ready before then. Punctuality was one of the few things she could control in her life. The store had 3 floors. The ground floor was dedicated to perfumes and cosmetics, a large, well-lit space with glass counters displaying imported perfume bottles, famous brand makeup, creams and lotions. The first floor was reserved for clothing and leather accessories, with racks organized by color and style, impeccably dressed mannequins, and displays that looked like works of art. The second floor was the most exclusive, jewelry and watches. This was where the most expensive pieces were kept, guarded in display cases with security systems, served by sales assistants who underwent special training. Marina always started on the ground floor. That's where the footfall was greatest, where customers constantly came and went, where dirt accumulated the fastest. She wiped the glass counters, cleaned the mirrors, emptied the discreet bins hidden behind the counters, and swept the Italian marble floor. She worked in silence, invisible to the impeccably dressed sales assistants who began to arrive, made up, perfumed, with practiced smiles. No one looked at her. No one greeted her. She was just another cog in the machine that kept that place running, just another body moving in the shadows, cleaning what others dirtied, organizing what others disorganized. And that was fine. Marina had grown accustomed to invisibility. It was even comforting in a way. No one expected anything from her other than to keep everything clean. No one judged her. No one saw her. She could do her job and leave, without needing to interact, without needing to smile, without needing to pretend. At 9 in the morning, the store opened its doors to customers. Marina was already on the first floor, organizing what needed to be done before the traffic increased. She cleaned the mirrors in the fitting rooms, vacuumed the carpets, and straightened the slightly misaligned racks, always working on the fringes, always keeping her distance from the customers and the sales assistants. Around 10 in the morning, Marina went up to the second floor. It was her favorite place in the store. There was something special about that space. The jewels sparkled under the strategically placed lights, and there was always an almost reverent silence there. Customers spoke in low voices. The sales assistants moved with calculated elegance. Everything seemed to operate in slow motion. It was like being in a film. Marina wiped the glass counters, emptied the small stainless steel bins, and discreetly organized whatever was necessary. The sales assistants on the second floor were different from those on the other floors. Fiona, the head sales assistant, was a woman in her mid-40s, always dressed in tailored suits, her hair in a perfect bun, her makeup impeccable. She treated customers with a mix of deference and authority, as if she knew exactly how much each person who entered that floor was worth. Marcella, the other sales assistant, was younger, perhaps 30, blonde, tall, with a smile that looked like it was out of a magazine. She was friendlier than Fiona, but equally distant from people like Marina. Marina was finishing cleaning near the necklace display when she heard a cry. It was Fiona's voice, normally controlled, now loud and distressed. "Where is it? Where is the necklace?" Marina immediately stopped what she was doing. She looked towards Fiona, who was rummaging through the velvet boxes on the main counter, opening and closing drawers with growing desperation. Marcella joined her in seconds, equally distressed, the two of them searching every inch of the counter. "Are you sure you put it back here?" Marcella asked, her voice tense, her eyes wide. "I'm sure. I showed it to the customer a moment ago. She said she would think about it, and I put it back. I'm sure of it," Fiona replied, her voice almost a shout now. Marina took a step back, trying to distance herself from the commotion. Her instinct told her to get out of there, to go down to another floor, to become invisible again. But it was too late. Fiona looked up from the counter and stared directly at her. And in that look, Marina saw the accusation as clear as day. You were here, weren't you? You were cleaning here when I was serving the customer." Marina felt her heart race, beating so hard it felt like everyone there could hear it. "I was, yes. But I didn't see anything. I was just cleaning the floor over in the corner. I didn't even go near the counter." "You didn't see anything?" Fiona repeated sarcastically, her voice dripping with contempt. "How convenient." "I swear I didn't see anything. I didn't touch anything," Marina insisted, feeling her throat tighten. Marcella was already calling the manager on the intercom, her voice nervous. In less than 2 minutes, Veronica, the store manager, appeared on the second floor. She was a tall, middle-aged woman, always impeccably dressed in designer clothes, with short blonde hair and gold-rimmed glasses. She had a permanent expression of severity, as if she were constantly evaluating everyone and everything around her. "What's going on here?" Veronica asked, her voice sharp, her eyes scanning the room. "The emerald necklace has disappeared, Veronica. The one worth £120,000. I put it away here half an hour ago and now it's gone," Fiona explained, pointing to the empty counter, her voice trembling with indignation. Veronica looked around. Her eyes passed over the display cases, the marble floor, the security cameras installed in the corners of the ceiling, and then they landed on Marina, who was still holding the cleaning cloth in her hands. "And you? Were you here when this happened?" "I was cleaning, ma'am, but I didn't touch anything. I didn't see the necklace. I didn't even know there was a necklace there." Veronica took a few steps towards Marina, her high heels echoing, on the marble floor like hammer blows. Marina felt the urge to back away, but she forced herself to stand still, to keep her eyes fixed on Veronica. "You don't mind opening your bag, do you? Just so we can be sure. Standard procedure." Marina felt her hands tremble, but she nodded. She knew she had no choice. She went quickly down to the changing room, got her bag from the locker, and returned to the second floor. When she got there, there were more people. Some sales assistants from other floors had come up, curious. 2 customers were watching. From a distance, Marina opened her bag in front of Veronica, showing the contents: an old faux leather wallet, a half-used lipstick, crumpled tissues, an old phone with a cracked screen, the store ID badge on a frayed lanyard, a small comb, and a few loose coins. Veronica rummaged through everything with her hands, picking up each item, examining it, putting it back. She found nothing. "She doesn't have the necklace, Veronica," Marcella said, her voice lower now, a hint of embarrassment beginning to show. But Fiona wasn't giving up. Her face was red, her eyes fixed on Marina with an almost violent intensity. "Maybe she hid it somewhere else. Maybe it's in her uniform pocket or inside her shoes. These things happen, Veronica. We see it on the news every day." Marina felt tears burn in her eyes, but she forced herself to maintain her composure. She couldn't cry. Not there. Not in front of everyone. "I didn't take anything, ma'am. I swear on God, on my daughter, I didn't take anything." Veronica sighed, but suspicion was still written all over her face. She took a radio from her blazer pocket and activated it. "Security, I need 2 agents. It's on the 2nd floor now." Marina froze. Security. They were going to search her as if she were a criminal, right there, in front of everyone. The 2nd floor, which was once so quiet, was now full of people. Sales assistants, customers, employees from other departments who had come up after hearing the commotion. Everyone was looking at her. Panic rose in her throat, but she couldn't say anything. She just stood there, her legs weak, her heart racing, as she waited for the security guards to arrive. 2 security guards appeared quickly. They were large men, uniformed in black, with serious professional expressions. One of them, older with grey hair, asked Marina to accompany him to a private room. But Fiona intervened, stepping forward. "No, search her right here. If she stole it, everyone needs to see. It'll serve as an example." Veronica hesitated for only a second. Marina could see the conflict on the manager's face, but then Veronica agreed with a nod. "Do the search here." Marina was led to a corner of the 2nd floor, near one of the display cases. The older guard asked her to raise her arms. Marina obeyed, feeling the tears, finally, stream down her face. The guard searched her pockets, ran his hands down the sides of her uniform, and asked her to take off her shoes. Marina took them off, standing in her socks on the cold marble floor. The other guard checked inside the shoes, felt the soles, and handed them back. Everyone watched. Sales assistants whispered among themselves. Customers discreetly took photos with their phones. Marina kept her eyes fixed on the floor, trying to disappear. But there was no way to disappear. She was the center of attention. The invisible woman had suddenly become the spectacle of the day. The thief, the suspect, guilty until proven innocent. They found nothing. "She's clean," the older guard announced, looking at Veronica. Veronica frowned, clearly frustrated. She crossed her arms over her chest and looked from Marina to Fiona. "Even so, I'm calling the police. This is a serious matter. We're talking about a necklace worth over £100,000. We can't just let it go." Marina felt the floor disappear from under her feet. The police. They were going to take her to the police station. They were going to file a report against her, even without proof, even though she was innocent. And then what would happen? Losing her job was certain, but what if it went further? What if they formally charged her? What if they put her in prison? Who would take care of Sophia? Who would take care of her mother? It was then that a firm voice cut through the heavy silence that had settled on the 2nd floor. "Wait a moment." Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was a tall man, about 40, dressed in an impeccable dark grey suit, a navy blue tie and shiny dress shoes. He had been on the 2nd floor since the beginning of the commotion, Marina now realized. He had been there the whole time, just observing in silence, standing near one of the watch displays. Marina vaguely recognized him. He was a frequent customer of the store, always polite but reserved. He had never noticed her before. No one ever did. But now he was looking at her, and there was something in his eyes. It wasn't pity. It was respect, indignation. "Excuse me," the man continued, taking a few steps towards Veronica, "but before you call the police and potentially ruin this woman's life, wouldn't it be prudent to review the security cameras? This store has cameras on every floor, does it not?" Veronica seemed to hesitate, as if she hadn't thought of it until that moment, or perhaps she didn't want to think of it. The cameras, well, they cover most of the store, but they don't always capture every angle. Then why don't we review them before making such a grave accusation? The man interrupted, looking directly at Veronica, his voice calm but authoritative. It cost nothing to check, and it could spare this woman an injustice. There was an awkward silence. Veronica looked around, seeing all eyes fixed on her, awaiting her decision. She knew the man was right. She sighed deeply and picked up her radio again. "Get the head of security. Tell him I need the recordings from the second floor for the last 2 hours. Urgent." The head of security, a middle-aged man named Charles, appeared about 10 minutes later with a tablet in his hands. Veronica, Fiona, Marcella, the man who had asked to review the cameras, and Marina were taken to a small administrative office at the back of the second floor. The room had a meeting table, a few chairs, and an old computer in a corner. Charles connected the tablet to the larger computer and began to access the recordings. The man insisted on staying, even though Veronica had suggested he could wait outside. Marina was trembling, but a small spark of hope began to flicker inside her. The cameras would show the truth. They had to. They fast-forwarded the footage until they reached the moment Fiona was serving an elegant customer, a woman in her 60s wearing a fur coat. They saw Fiona open the special drawer where the most valuable pieces were kept. They saw her take out a black velvet box. They saw her open the box and show the emerald necklace to the customer, who held it delicately in her hands, lifted it to the light, and examined each stone. They saw the customer say something they couldn't hear, but from their expressions it was something like, "I'll think about it." They saw Fiona take the necklace back and try to place it in the velvet box. And then they saw what really happened. The necklace slipped from Fiona's hands for a fraction of a second. It wasn't entirely her fault. The velvet box was poorly positioned on the counter, slightly askew, and when she tried to place the necklace inside, it slid to the side, falling down the side of the counter. It was clearly visible in the footage. The necklace fell into a narrow gap between the counter unit and the wall. "Look there," the man said, pointing at the screen with his finger. The necklace fell. It stuck behind the counter. No one stole anything. Veronica went pale. Fiona brought both hands to her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. Marcella let out a long sigh. Charles, the head of security, paused the recording and looked at everyone in the room. Marina closed her eyes, feeling the tears finally stream down uncontrollably. Tears of relief, of anger, of deep humiliation. It was all there, the proof of her innocence, but also the proof of how quickly everyone had judged her, how quickly they had all assumed that she, the invisible woman, the cleaner, was the culprit. They all returned to the second floor in silence. 2 security guards carefully moved the heavy marble counter away from the wall, and there was the necklace, intact, gleaming. Faintly under the accumulated dust, the emeralds catching the light from the ceiling lamps. Fiona picked up the necklace with trembling hands and held it against her chest, as if it were a lost child who had finally been found. Veronica approached Marina, her face tense, embarrassed. She opened her mouth several times before she could speak. "I apologize for the misunderstanding. You can go back to work now." But Marina knew it wasn't that simple. The damage was done. Everyone there had seen. Everyone had looked at her as if she were a thief, and even with her innocence, proven even with the cameras showing the truth, that shadow would remain. People would remember the day she was searched in the middle of the store. They would remember the accusations. They would remember the suspicion. Innocence never shouts as loudly as accusation. The man who had asked to review the cameras approached her. Marina didn't even know his name yet. He took a business card from his jacket pocket and handed it to her. "I'm very sorry for what you went through. What happened here today was an injustice. If you need anything at all, please contact me. My name is Raphael." Marina took the card without looking at it, just mumbling an almost inaudible thank you. She wanted to get out of there. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to be anywhere but that store. She went down to the changing room, gathered her things, and left through the back door. She didn't say goodbye to anyone, she just left. And as she walked down Bond Street, with Raphael's card clutched in her hand and the tears drying on her face, Marina didn't know that this was just the beginning of something that would change everything. Marina didn't go straight home. She couldn't. The thought of arriving at the flat, of seeing her mother's face, of having to explain what had happened, was too much to bear at that moment. Instead, she walked aimlessly through the streets of Mayfair, clutching her bag against her chest, her eyes still red from crying. It was midday, and the sun had finally broken through the morning's grey clouds. The pavements were full of elegant people going in and out of restaurants, shops, and beauty salons. Marina passed a shop window and saw her reflection. She was a mess. Her face was swollen, her uniform crumpled, her hair escaping from its bun. She looked exactly like what she was, a broken woman. She ended up sitting on a park bench, in a small, leafy square between two office buildings. There were few people there. An old man was feeding pigeons. A young woman was talking on her phone, laughing loudly. Marina took her phone out of her bag and looked at the screen. 3 missed calls from Helen. She sighed. She would have to call back, would have to invent some excuse to explain why she had left in the middle of her shift. She couldn't tell the truth. She couldn't make her mother worry even more. She dialed the home number. Helen answered on the second ring. "Marina. Love, are you all right? Why did you leave? Did something happen?" "I'm fine, Mom. I just wanted to know if everything is okay with you and Sophia. Did she get to school all right?" "She did, yes. But you never call at this time. Are you sure everything's okay?" "I'm sure, Mom. I was just thinking about you both. I need to get back to work now. We'll talk tonight, okay?" "All right, love. Take care." Marina hung up and stared at her phone screen. She only had £15 of credit. She would need to top it up soon, but she didn't know when she'd have the money for it. She put the phone back in her bag and sat there, watching the people go by. It was then that she remembered the card. That man, Raphael, had given her a card. She took it out of her pocket and looked at it for the first time. It was a simple, elegant card, on thick, cream-colored paper. It read, "Raphael Miller, Chief Executive Officer, Miller Properties and Investments." There was a business address in Canary Wharf and 2 phone numbers, a landline and a mobile. Marina stared at the card for a long time. Chief Executive Officer, Properties and Investments. That man was rich. Very rich, probably. And yet, he had cared. He had asked to review the cameras. He had defended her when no one else did. Why? Why would someone like him bother to help someone like her? She put the card back in her pocket and got up from the bench. She needed to make a decision. Going back to the store was out of the question. She couldn't face Veronica, Fiona, all those people who had looked at her with contempt. But she couldn't just abandon her job either. She needed the salary. She needed the travel allowance. She needed all of it. Marina decided to go to the store, but only to get her things from the locker and hand in her uniform. She would do it quickly, without talking to anyone, and leave. Then she would think about what to do. When she arrived at the back of Maison Lavelle, it was almost 1 in the afternoon. The service door was open, and Marina went straight to the changing room. She had hoped it would be empty, but it wasn't. Rose, her cleaning colleague, was there, putting some things in her locker. "Marina, I heard what happened. What a disgrace, love. Are you okay?" Marina forced a weak smile. "I am. I just came to get my things. I'm not working here anymore." Rose came closer and touched Marina's arm gently. "I understand. After a humiliation like that, you can't stay. But do you have another job lined up?" Marina shook her head. "No, but..." "Well, look, there's always something." Rose sighed. "If you need a reference, let me know. My cousin works in a hospital, and sometimes they need cleaners there. It doesn't pay much, but it's honest work." "Thank you, Rose. I really appreciate it." Marina opened her locker and started taking her things out. She didn't have much: an old coat, a pair of slippers, a few toiletries. She put everything in her bag. She took off her uniform and folded it carefully, leaving it on the changing room bench along with her ID badge. As she was leaving, she ran into Veronica in the corridor. The manager seemed surprised to see her. "Marina, aren't you going to finish your shift?" "No, ma'am. I just came to return the uniform. I'm not working here anymore." Veronica frowned. I understand that what happened today was unpleasant, but there's no need to leave your job. We've cleared everything up. You were exonerated." Marina looked directly into Veronica's eyes. There were so many things she wanted to say. She wanted to scream that being exonerated didn't erase the humiliation, that people would never forget that day, that even without fault, she would carry that mark forever. But she said none of that. She just said what needed to be said. "I know, Mum, but I'd rather leave. Thank you for the opportunity." And she walked away before Veronica could reply. The journey back home was long and silent. Marina managed to get a window seat on the bus and watch the city go by. London was immense, noisy, full of contrasts. There were so many people, so many stories, so many lives happening at the same time. And she was just one more. Just another woman struggling to survive. She arrived home around 3 in the afternoon. Helen was in the living room watching an afternoon soap opera on the old television. She turned it off immediately when she saw her daughter walk in. "Marina, what are you doing here at this hour? Are you feeling unwell?" Marina sat down next to her mother on the worn-out sofa and finally let the tears fall. Helen hugged her, not asking any questions, just offering the comfort of her presence. "They fired me, Mom." "Well, not exactly. I quit. But it was because of something horrible that happened." And Marina told her everything. About the necklace, the accusations, the search in front of everyone, about the cameras that proved her innocence too late. Helen listened to it all in silence, stroking her daughter's hair. "My daughter. My dear daughter. You didn't deserve to go through that. No one does." "I don't know what to do, Mom. We need my salary. There are the bills, your medication, Sophia's school. I need to find another job quickly, but who's going to hire me? I don't have experience in anything but cleaning." Helen wiped the tears from Marina's face with her thumb, just as she did when she was a child. "We'll find a way, love. We always have. God doesn't abandon those with faith. You'll find another job, something better, something where they truly value you." Marina wanted to believe it. She wanted to have her mother's unshakable faith. But at that moment all she felt was fear. Fear of the future, fear of not being able to pay the bills, fear of disappointing her daughter. Sophia arrived home from school at 5, brought by the grandmother of a classmate who lived in the same building. She came in bouncing her backpack on, her face lit up. "Mom, you're already home. What a lovely surprise." Marina opened her arms and Sophia ran into them. They hugged for a long time. Marina breathed in the scent of her daughter's hair, that smell of children's shampoo mixed with crayons and school erasers. It was the smell of innocence, of purity, of everything worth protecting in this world. "How was school today, my love?" "It was great. The teacher said I got a 10 out of 10 on my maths test, and we're doing a presentation next week about animals. I chose to talk about dolphins. Did you know dolphins are super smart, Mum?" "I did, yes. You'll do great in your presentation. You're the smartest girl I know." Sophia smiled, proud, and ran to her room to change her clothes. Marina watched her daughter go and felt her heart ache. She had to find a job, not for herself, but for that little girl who deserved a better life. The following days were difficult. Marina woke up early every day and went out to look for a job. She took printed CVs to various shops, supermarkets, restaurants, and hospitals. But the answers were always the same. "We don't have any vacancies at the moment. We'll keep your CV on file. If something comes up, we'll call you." She knew they wouldn't call. A week passed. Then 2. The money was running out. Marina had a small reserve, just over £500 saved for emergencies, but that amount was melting away fast. She needed to buy food, medicine for her mother, school supplies for Sophia. Every pound spent was a weight on her chest. Helen tried to help in any way she could. She cooked simple but hearty meals, making the most of every ingredient. She made vegetable soup that lasted for several days. She prepared rice and eggs that filled their stomachs. She never complained. She never made Marina feel guilty. But Marina saw the worry in her mother's eyes, saw how she counted and recounted the coins in the pantry jar, saw how she turned off the lights in every room to save on the electricity bill. Sophia noticed that something was different. but she didn't understand exactly what. She asked a few times why her mum wasn't working, and Marina explained that she was looking for a new, better job. The girl accepted the explanation without much questioning. Children have that ability to trust adults, to believe that everything will be all right. It was on a Thursday afternoon, almost 3 weeks after she had left Maison Lavelle, that Marina's phone rang. It was an unknown number. She answered with her heart racing, hoping it was one of the companies where she had left her CV. "Hello? Marina? Is this Marina?" The voice was male, polite, vaguely familiar. "Yes? This is she. Who's speaking?" "This is Raphael Miller. We met at Maison Lavelle a few weeks ago." Marina was silent for a moment, processing. Raphael, the man, who had asked to review the cameras, the man with the card. "Oh yes, hi, how did you get my number?" "I asked for it at the store, I hope you don't mind. I wanted to know how you are. I've been thinking about what happened that day. It was so unfair." Marina didn't know what to say. Why was this man calling her? Why did he care? "I'm fine. I'm dealing with it. Thank you for asking." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Marina, I know this might seem strange for me to call like this, but I'd like to talk to you in person. Would you have some time available? We could meet at a cafe or wherever you prefer." Marina hesitated. All the warning bells were ringing in her head. She didn't know this man. She didn't know his intentions, but at the same time there was something in his voice, a sincerity, a genuine concern. Could it be in a public place, during the day? Of course. What do you think of the coffee shop in the shopping centre at Victoria? Tomorrow around 2 in the afternoon, it's easy for you to get to on the tube, Marina thought quickly. She needed money for the tube fare, but she still had a few pounds on her Oyster card. "All right, I'll be there." "Great. Until tomorrow then. And Marina, thank you for agreeing." She hung up the phone with her heart pounding. What had she just done? Why had she agreed to meet this man? But at the same time, a part of her was curious, and another part, desperate. If he had something to offer, some opportunity, she needed to hear it. That night, Marina barely slept. She lay, next to Sophia, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the possibilities. What did Raphael want? Why had he gone to the trouble of finding her? Was it a job offer? Or was it something else? The next morning, Marina chose the best clothes she had. It wasn't much, just a pair of dark jeans and a navy blue blouse, but they were clean and well ironed. She tied her hair back in a simple ponytail and put on a little lipstick. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a tired but dignified woman. It was the best she could do. She left the house at 12:30, telling her mother she was going to meet a potential employer. Helen blessed her with the sign of the cross and said she would pray for everything to go well. The tube journey was quick. Marina got off at Victoria Station and walked to the shopping centre. It was a nice modern place, full of expensive shops and sophisticated restaurants. She felt out of place there, but she forced herself to keep going. She found the coffee shop easily. It was a spacious place with wooden tables and comfortable chairs. Raphael was already there, sitting at a table in the corner near the window. He stood up as soon as he saw her enter. "Marina, I'm glad you came. Please, have a seat." Marina sat down, her hands nervous in her lap. Raphael ordered 2 coffees and waited for them to be served before he started talking. "I know you must be wondering why I called, why I asked to meet. The truth is, I couldn't stop thinking about what happened that day. The way you were treated was unacceptable, and I felt responsible for not intervening sooner. It wasn't your fault. You were the only person who defended me." Raphael shook his head. "I should have done more, and that's why I'm here. I want to offer you an opportunity, a job at my company." Marina's eyes widened. She couldn't have heard him right. "A job? At your company? But I'm not qualified to work in a property development company. I only know how to clean." Raphael smiled gently. "Everyone has skills, Marina. You may not have a degree, but you have something more important. Determination, strength, dignity. I saw that in you that day, and my company needs people like that. But what would I do? What would the role be? To start, something simple. An administrative assistant, organizing documents, filing papers, helping out where needed. Over time, you can learn more, grow within the company. I believe in giving opportunities to people who deserve them. Marina felt tears threatening to fall, but she held them back. She couldn't cry there, not in front of him. I don't know what to say. Why are you doing this for me? Raphael was silent for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. Because I grew up watching my mother, being treated the same way you were treated that day. She was a cleaner too, she was also invisible. And I swore to myself that if I ever had the power to change that, to give opportunities to people like her, I would. So that's what I'm doing. Marina wiped away a tear that had escaped and nodded. I accept. I accept the opportunity. I don't know if I'll be good enough, but I'll try. I'll do my best. I know you will. And you'll be great. You can start next Monday. I'll give you the office address and all. The details. The starting salary is double what you were earning at the store, and you'll have benefits like meal vouchers and private health insurance. Marina couldn't hold back the tears this time. She cried there, in the coffee shop, in front of this man she barely knew but who was changing her life. Raphael didn't seem embarrassed. He just waited patiently for her to compose herself, offering napkins and kind words. When Marina left that coffee shop, the world seemed different. The colors were brighter. The air was lighter. There was hope again. She took the tube back home, with a smile on her face for the first time in weeks. Helen and Sophia were in the living room when she arrived. Marina walked in and announced in a firm, cheerful voice, "I got a new job, a better job. We're going to be okay." And the three of them hugged, crying and laughing at the same time. Because sometimes when everything seems to be falling apart, that's exactly when the universe conspires to rebuild it all in an even more beautiful way. Marina didn't know it yet, but that meeting in the coffee shop was just the beginning of a journey that would transform not only her professional life, but her entire life. Raphael Miller wasn't just a generous employer. He would be much more than that. But those discoveries would come with time. For now, Marina allowed herself to just feel gratitude and hope, and the feeling that finally things were starting to fall into place. Monday arrived faster than Marina had expected. She woke up at 5 in the morning, even though she no longer needed to leave so early. It was a habit of years, her body accustomed to that routine. But this time there was something different. There was excitement, nervousness, a mix of fear and hope that made her feel more alive than she had in a long time. The offices of Miller Properties and Investments were in Canary Wharf, in a prestigious area of London. It was a building of glass and steel, modern, imposing, with a vertical garden on its facade and a lobby that looked like it was out of an architectural magazine. Marina entered slowly, feeling tiny in the face of so much grandeur. At the reception desk, a young woman with straight hair and a friendly smile greeted her. "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" "Good morning. My name is Marina Santos. It's my first day of work. Mr. Raphael Miller told me to come in today." The receptionist checked something on her computer and nodded. "Oh, yes. Marina, who will be working in administration? Welcome. I'll let Mr. Miller know you've arrived. Please, have a seat over there. He'll be down to get you shortly." Marina sat on one of the leather sofas in the lobby. Everything there was clean, organized with a faint scent of lavender. There were modern paintings on the walls and pots, with lush plants in the corners. It was so different from any place she had ever worked before. Raphael appeared a few minutes later. He was wearing a light grey suit and smiling genuinely. Marina stood up quickly, nervously smoothing her clothes. "Marina, good to see you. Ready to start?" "Ready, a little nervous, but ready." "Nervousness is normal. Come, I'll show you where you'll be working and introduce you to the team." They went up to the 5th floor. It was an open-plan office with several workstations separated by low partitions. There were many people, all well-dressed, working on computers, talking on the phone, moving from one side to the other with clipboards and folders in their hands. The atmosphere was professional, but at the same time had a welcoming energy. Raphael led her to a small desk near a window with a view of the city. On the desk was a new computer, a telephone, some office supplies organized in a tray, and an ID badge with her name on it. "This is your spot. You'll be working directly with Beatrice, who is the supervisor of the administrative department. She'll teach you everything you need to know. Oh, and this is your ID badge. Keep it safe, you'll need it to get into the building every day." Marina took the badge with trembling hands. There was her name, printed in clear letters, Marina Santos, administrative assistant. She had never had a badge like this. It had always been just a number, an anonymous presence. But now she had a name, a role, a place. Beatrice appeared a few minutes later. She was a woman in her 40s with short dark hair, red-framed glasses, and a welcoming smile. "You must be Marina. A pleasure. I'm Beatrice. Welcome to the team." They shook hands, and Beatrice immediately began to explain the day's tasks, organizing documents that arrived from different departments, filing signed contracts, updating simple spreadsheets on the computer, answering phones when necessary. They were basic tasks, but for Marina, who had never worked in an office before, everything was new and challenging. "Don't worry if you don't get everything at first. We learn by doing, and if you have any questions, just ask me. I'm at that desk over there, nice and close, okay?" Marina nodded, grateful for Beatrice's patience. The first few days were difficult. Marina made mistakes. She filed documents in the wrong places. She took longer than she should have to complete simple tasks. The computer was a challenge in itself. She knew the basics, but many of the tools and programs were completely new to her. More than once she felt like giving up, saying she wasn't capable, that she wasn't cut out for this job. But Beatrice was always nearby, patient and encouraging. And Raphael, even though he was the CEO and had 1,000 other things to do, would stop by Marina's desk at least once a day to ask how she was doing. "Are you managing to keep up?" "I'm trying. It's a lot of new things, but I'm learning." "You're doing well. Beatrice told me you're dedicated and hard-working. That's what matters." By the end of the first week, Marina already felt a little more confident. She started to understand the logic of the document organization, to navigate the computer programs better, to become familiar with the names and faces of the people who worked there. And for the first time in a long time, she went home feeling accomplished. Sophia noticed the change immediately. Her mother smiled more. She had more energy. She told stories about work during dinner. Marina talked about Beatrice, about the construction projects the company was developing, about the view from her office window. The little girl listened to everything with bright eyes, proud to see her mother so happy. Helen noticed too. She commented to Marina one evening as they were washing the dinner dishes, "You're different, love. Lighter. This new job is doing you good." "It is, Mom. I never thought I could work in a place like this. I never thought I was capable, but I'm managing, and you know what's best? People treat me with respect. They see me. I'm not invisible there." Helen kissed her daughter's forehead tenderly. "You were never invisible, my love. Some people just didn't know how to look properly. But now you're in a place where they see you, and that's a blessing." A few weeks passed. Marina adapted better and better. Beatrice started entrusting her with more complex tasks. Marina learned to do basic spreadsheet analysis, to write professional emails, to organize meetings. She discovered she had a natural talent for identifying patterns and improving processes. Several times she suggested changes to how documents were filed or how certain information was organized, and her suggestions were accepted and implemented. It was on one of these occasions that Raphael called her into his office. It was a spacious office on the 6th floor, with a large mahogany desk, shelves full of books and trophies, and a panoramic view of London. Marina entered nervously, thinking she had done something wrong. "Sit down, Marina. No need to be tense. I just want to talk." She sat in the chair opposite his desk. "Beatrice told me about your suggestions for reorganizing the contract archive. She said you created a new system that's saving the team a lot of time. I'm impressed." Marina felt her face flush. "Oh, it was just a simple idea. I noticed we were wasting a lot of time looking for documents, so I thought of a better way to organize them." "It wasn't just a simple idea, it was a smart idea. And it shows that you have the potential for much more than just filing papers. I was thinking of promoting you. Would you be open to taking on a role as a project assistant?" It would come with a better salary and more responsibilities, but I know you can handle it." Marina was speechless. A promotion. Less than 2 months into the job and she was already being promoted. It seemed surreal. I don't know what to say. Of course I'd love to. Thank you for the trust, Mr. Miller. You can just call me Raphael. We work as a team here, and you don't need to thank me. You deserve this opportunity." From that day on, Marina's life changed even more. As a project assistant, she started participating in meetings, following the development of real estate projects and understanding how the whole operation worked. It was a lot of work, a lot of new information, but she absorbed it all like a sponge. She took detailed notes, asked questions when she had doubts, and studied at home at night after Sophia went to sleep. Raphael began to involve her more and more. He asked for her opinion on certain aspects of the projects. He took her to visit construction sites. He introduced her to investors and partners as an important member of the team. And Marina blossomed in this environment of respect and opportunity. But it wasn't just her work that was changing. Something else was happening, something that Marina took a while to realize. Raphael started appearing more frequently near her desk. Quick chats turned into long conversations. Questions about work turned into questions about her life. He wanted to know about Sophia, about her favorite games, about how she was doing in school. He wanted to know about Helen, about her health, if she needed anything. And Marina realized there was something genuine in those questions. They weren't just empty pleasantries. Raphael truly cared. One time, Sophia got sick, a bad flu that left her feverish and weak for several days. Marina had to miss a day of work to take her to the doctor and look after her. When she returned the next day, she found a large basket on her desk filled with fruit, natural juices, children's medicine, and a teddy bear with a card that said, "For Sophia, get well soon, Raphael." Marina stared at the basket for a long time, feeling a strange sensation in her chest. It wasn't just gratitude, it was something deeper, something that scared her a little. Beatrice noticed and approached with a knowing smile. "Raphael is quite a boss, isn't he? I've never seen someone care so much about their employees. He's special." He's very kind." Beatrice looked at Marina in a meaningful way. "I don't think it's just kindness, Marina. Anyone can see it." Marina pretended not to understand what Beatrice was implying, but deep down she had noticed it for some time. The way Raphael looked at her, how he always found an excuse to pass by her desk, how he smiled differently when he spoke to her. There was something there, something that went beyond a professional relationship, and the most frightening thing was that Marina felt the same way. She was 32 and hadn't thought about romance in a long time. After Sophia's father left when she was still pregnant, Marina had locked that part of herself away. She built walls around her heart, deciding she had neither the time nor the energy to fall in love. Her priority was her daughter and her mother. There was no room for anything else. But Raphael was tearing down those walls, brick by brick, without even trying, just by being himself, kind, attentive, respectful. And Marina was starting to feel things she hadn't felt in years, her heart racing when he entered the room, the automatic smile that formed on her face when she heard his voice, the thoughts that drifted to him at the most unexpected moments. It was on a Saturday, 3 months after Marina had started working at the company, that Raphael made an unusual invitation. "Marina, I know this might seem strange, but I'd like to invite you, Sophia, and your mother for an outing. There's a craft fair in Hyde Park this weekend. I thought Sophia might like it. And we could have lunch there afterwards. No pressure, just a day out. Would you like to?" Marina hesitated. This was no longer a professional relationship. This was crossing a line. But at the same time, she wanted to go. She wanted Sophia to meet Raphael. She wanted to spend time with him outside the office. She wanted to see if what she was feeling was real or just a product of her imagination. "I'd love to. Sophia will be thrilled. It's been a while since we had a proper day out." On Saturday, Marina woke up early and chose a nice but simple outfit. A light blue dress, flat sandals, her hair down for the first time in months. Sophia was ecstatic when she learned they were going to the park and would meet the Raphael her mother talked so much about. Raphael picked them up at their house at noon. He drove a discreet, unostentatious car and greeted everyone with a warm smile. Helen watched the young man attentively, sizing him up with that motherly gaze that sees beyond appearances, and Marina could tell her mother approved. The day out was wonderful. Hyde Park was busy, but in a good, vibrant way. The craft fair had all sorts of stalls, selling clothes, jewelry, wooden toys, and traditional foods. Sophia ran from stall to stall, enchanted by everything. Raphael accompanied her, making jokes, buying her a cotton candy, and winning her trust with a natural ease. Marina watched the scene with a full heart. Seeing her daughter smile like that, seeing a good man treat her with such affection, was something she never imagined she could have. Helen was also smiling, sitting on a bench in the shade, watching her granddaughter play. "He's a good man, Marina. You can see it in his eyes, in the way he treats you all," Helen said quietly. "I know, Mom, but I'm scared. Scared of getting hurt. Scared of hurting Sophia." "To live is to be scared, love. But sometimes you have to take a step, even when you're afraid, because something beautiful might be on the other side." They had lunch at a simple restaurant near the park. Raphael insisted on paying for everything, despite Marina's protests. They talked about everything, about their childhoods, their dreams, their plans for the future. Raphael talked about how he had built the company from scratch, about the challenges he faced, about how important it was for him to make a difference in people's lives. Marina talked about Sophia, about what it was like to be a young mother, about the sacrifices and joys that came with it. And at some point, as they talked, their hands met on the table. It was an accidental touch at first, but then their fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had always belonged together. Sophia didn't miss a thing. She looked at their intertwined fingers and smiled, but said nothing. Helen saw it too, and nodded, giving her silent approval. When they returned home in the late afternoon, Marina knew something had changed, that she could no longer pretend this was just friendship or gratitude. There were real feelings there, strong, frightening, but real. Raphael walked her to the door of her flat. Sophia and Helen had already gone inside, leaving the two of them alone in the corridor. "Thank you for today. Sophia loved it, and so did I." Raphael smiled, that smile that made Marina's heart race. "Thank you for coming. You know, Marina, I know we have a professional relationship, and I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I have to be honest. I like you, much more than I should just like an employee, and I can't pretend I don't feel anything anymore." Marina felt tears welling up, but this time they were happy tears. "I like you too, Raphael. I've been trying to deny it, but I can't anymore. I'm just scared, scared of what people will think, scared that this will complicate things." Raphael gently held Marina's face in his hands. "We'll take it slow, no rush. And what people think doesn't matter. What matters is what we feel. Are you willing to try?" Marina looked into his eyes and saw sincerity. She saw affection. She saw something that looked a lot like love. I'm willing to try." And there, in that simple corridor of an old building in Peckham, Marina and Raphael kissed for the first time. It was a gentle kiss, full of promises and hopes. A kiss that sealed the beginning of something that neither of them knew yet, but that would transform their lives forever. In the following months, their relationship blossomed. Raphael became a natural part of Marina's life. He would come over for dinner at the flat, help Sophia with her homework, and have long conversations with Helen about medicinal plants, an interest they both shared. He was present in the simple moments and the important ones, and Sophia adored him. She called him Rafa and ran to hug him whenever he arrived. At work, they maintained their professionalism. Marina continued to do her job with excellence, and Raphael remained a fair boss. But everyone in the office knew there was something between them, and no one seemed to mind. In fact, the team approved. They said they had never seen Raphael so happy. But not everything would be easy, because in every love story, there are obstacles. And the obstacle for Marina and Raphael was about to appear in the form of a powerful man who did not approve of their union. Raphael's father, a man who believed his son deserved someone from his own social circle, someone who wasn't just an employee, someone who hadn't come from poverty, And when that man decided to act, Marina would have to prove that her love was strong enough to weather any storm. Winter had given way to spring in London. The trees were in bloom again, filling the streets with vibrant colours, and Marina's life was also flourishing. There was happiness in every corner of her existence. At work, she had become a vital part of the team, respected by everyone. At home, the flat was more cheerful, more alive. Sophia laughed more, Helen smiled more, and Marina, for the first time in many years, allowed herself to dream of a different future. Raphael was the center of this new future. He was present in everything, in the simple dinners they shared, in the stories Sophia told about school, in the philosophical conversations with Helen. He had fitted into their lives like a piece that had always been missing, and Marina found herself thinking about things she had never dared to think before. Marriage, a complete family, a home where love was abundant. But life has a peculiar way of reminding us that nothing is simple, that every happiness comes with a price. And the price of Marina and Raphael's happiness was about to be collected. It was on a Thursday afternoon that everything began to change. Marina was at her desk, reviewing some documents, when Beatrice approached with a worried expression. "Marina, Mr. Albert Miller is here. He wants to speak with you." Marina looked up, confused. "Albert Miller, Raphael's father." "That's right. He's in the 6th floor meeting room. He specifically asked to speak with you. Alone." A chill ran down Marina's spine. She had never met Raphael's father in person. She knew he was the founder of the company, that he had built an empire from scratch, that he was a powerful and influential man. She also knew he was semi-retired, only showing up at the office occasionally. Raphael spoke little about his father, but on the rare occasions he did, there was a tension in his voice, a distance. Marina took a deep breath and stood up. "All right, I'm going up now." She took the lift to the 6th floor, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew instinctively that this conversation would not be good. She reached the meeting room and knocked on the door. A deep, authoritative voice replied, "Come in." Marina opened the door and was met by a man in his 70s, tall, broad-shouldered, with grey hair combed back and gold-rimmed glasses. He wore an impeccable suit and had a presence that dominated the room. This was Albert Miller. And Marina immediately understood where Raphael had inherited his posture, but she also realized that father and son were very different. Where Raphael had kindness, Albert had hardness. Where Raphael had compassion, Albert had pragmatism. "Sit down," Albert said, pointing to a chair on the other side of the long table. Marina sat, keeping her back straight, her hands in her lap. She would not show intimidation, even if she was trembling inside. "You must be wondering why I asked to speak with you," Albert began, taking off his glasses and calmly cleaning them with a cloth handkerchief. "It's simple. I want you to stay away from my son." Marina felt as if she had been punched in the stomach, but she forced herself to remain calm. "With all due respect, Mr. Miller, that is not a decision for you to make. It's a decision for me and Raphael." Albert put his glasses back on and looked directly at her. It was a calculating, cold gaze. "I'll be frank with you, Marina. You seem to be a hard-working, dedicated woman. My son has told me about your achievements here at the company, and I admire that. But admire does not mean approve. My son is the heir to an empire. He needs someone on his level, someone from the same social class, with the same education, the same connections." Marina felt anger rising within her, but she kept her voice firm. "Are you saying that I'm not good enough for Raphael because I'm poor? Because I came from nothing? It's not a question of whether you are good enough. It's a question of compatibility, of suitability. You have a daughter, don't you? From another relationship. That brings complications. And your mother is ill, needs care. You have baggage, Marina. My son deserves to start something without all that baggage." Marina felt tears burn in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She would not give him that satisfaction. "This baggage, as you call it, is my family. It's my daughter, who is smart, loving, and wonderful. It's my mother, who dedicated her life to caring for others. And if Raphael can't accept that, then maybe you're right. Maybe we shouldn't be together after all. She stood up to leave, but Albert spoke again. Wait. Sit down. I haven't finished. Marina hesitated, but sat down again. I'm going to make you a proposal. Stay away from my son. End the relationship. In return, I will ensure that you and your family are financially comfortable. I can arrange a better job for you at another company with an excellent salary. I can guarantee first-class medical treatment for your mother. I can pay for the best school for your daughter. Everything you could possibly need. Marina stared at the man, incredulous. He was trying to buy her. He was trying to use money to separate her from Raphael. Do you really think I would accept that? Do you think I would sell my love, my daughter's happiness for money? Everyone has a price, Marina. It's just a matter of finding the right amount. Marina stood up again, this time firmly. I don't have a price, Mr. Miller. And Raphael is not a commodity that you can control. He is a grown man, capable of making his own decisions. And if you can't see how happy he is with me, then the problem isn't with me, it's with you. And she left the room, slamming the door harder than she intended. She went down in the lift, trembling with anger and indignation. She returned to her desk and tried to work, but she couldn't concentrate. The conversation with Albert replayed in her mind over and over. Each of his words was like an open wound. Not good enough. You have baggage. Not from the same class. Raphael appeared near her desk late in the afternoon. Hi, is everything all right? You seem tense. Marina looked at him and decided to tell him everything. She wouldn't hide it. She took him to an empty room and recounted the entire conversation with Albert. She saw Raphael's expression change from surprise to anger. My father did that? He offered you money to stay away from me. He did, and he made it very clear that he doesn't think I'm suitable for you. Raphael ran his hands over his face, exasperated. Marina, I am so sorry. My father is complicated. He's always been controlling, always wanted to decide everything in my life. But this has gone too far. Raphael, maybe he's right. Maybe we do come from very different worlds. Maybe this won't work in the long run. Raphael held Marina's face in both hands, forcing her to look into his eyes. Don't say that. Don't let his words get into your head. I don't care where you came from. I care about who you are, and I love you, Marina. I love you, I love Sophia, and I love Helen. You are my family now. Marina felt the tears finally fall. I love you too. But I'm scared, Raphael. Scared that your family will never accept me. Scared that this will end up tearing us apart. Then let me show you that won't happen. Let me prove that I choose you. Raphael scheduled a meeting with his father for that same evening. Marina wasn't present, but Raphael told her later what happened. The conversation was tense, full of accusations from both sides. Albert tried to convince Raphael that he was making a mistake. He tried to use logical, emotional, and financial arguments. He even threatened to disinherit Raphael if he continued with Marina. And that's when Raphael made the most difficult decision of his life. Then disinherit me, Dad. Take my name off the company if you want. Take everything, because I am not giving up Marina. She is the best thing that has ever happened to me. And if you can't see that, if you can't respect my choice, then maybe it's best we keep our distance for a while. Albert was shocked. He never imagined his son would go so far. But Raphael was firm in his decision. The following days were difficult. Raphael distanced himself from his father, and it weighed on him. Marina saw the sadness in his eyes even when he tried to hide it. She felt guilty, as if she were responsible for breaking that family relationship, but Raphael always reassured her. This isn't your fault. This is a situation that needed to happen. My father needs to understand that he can't control my life forever. Helen, with her years of wisdom, offered words of comfort one evening when Raphael was having dinner with them. Son, I understand your pain. Family is complicated, but sometimes we have to create our own family with the people we choose. And you chose Marina, you chose Sophia, you chose us. And we chose you too. That's worth more than any money, any inheritance. Raphael smiled, grateful. Thank you, Helen. You always know what to say. Weeks passed. Marina and Raphael stayed together, stronger than ever. He officially asked her to be his girlfriend with flowers and everything. Sophia was ecstatic, asking if Raphael would be her dad now. Raphael hugged her and said he would love to be if she would let him. At work, Marina continued to excel. She was promoted again, this time to project coordinator. Beatrice organized a small surprise party at the office to celebrate. And for the first time, Marina felt truly part of something bigger. She was no longer the invisible woman. She was seen, valued, loved. It was on a Saturday, 6 months after the conversation with Albert, that something unexpected happened. Marina was at home with Sophia, making brigadeiros for a school party, when the doorbell rang. She opened the door and froze. It was Albert Miller. "Mr. Miller, what are you doing here?" Albert looked different, less imposing, more human. There was something in his eyes that Marina hadn't seen before. Vulnerability. "May I come in? I'd like to talk." Marina hesitated but agreed. She led him to the simple living room of the flat. Sophia looked curiously at the unknown man, but continued mixing the brigadeiros in the kitchen with Helen. Albert sat on the sofa and was silent for a moment before speaking. "I came to apologize for the way I treated you. For the things I said, I was wrong." Marina was too surprised to respond immediately. "My son hasn't spoken to me in months," Albert continued, his voice thick with emotion. "And I realize that I've lost him. I lost my son because of my pride, my arrogance. I thought I knew what was best for him, but in truth he always knew, and I was too foolish to see it." "Why are you telling me this?" Albert looked at Marina with eyes full of genuine remorse. "Because you make him happy, happier than I have ever seen. Him in his entire life. And I was selfish to try and take that away from him. My wife, Raphael's mother, she passed away many years ago, and before she left, she made me promise to take care of our son, to ensure his happiness. I thought doing that meant making sure he had money, success, a good social standing. But she wasn't talking about that. She was talking about love, about true happiness, and you give that to him." Marina felt her eyes fill with tears. "I love your son, Mr. Miller, and I know I'm not perfect, that I come from a humble place, but I love him truly, and I will take care of him to the best of my ability." Albert nodded, discreetly wiping his own eyes. "I know, and that's why I'm here. To ask for your forgiveness, and to ask that you give me a chance to get to know you properly, to be a part of your lives if you'll have me." At that moment, Sophia appeared in the living room with a plate of brigadeiros. "Would you like one? Grandma and I made them." Albert looked at the little girl with her bright eyes and open smile, and something inside him broke. He accepted a brigadeiro and smiled, a genuine smile. "Thank you. It's delicious." Sophia smiled, proud, and returned to the kitchen. Helen watched from the doorway, a wise smile on her face. That visit was the beginning of a reconciliation. Albert started coming around more, always respectful, always trying to redeem himself. He brought small but meaningful gifts for Sophia. He had long conversations with Helen about life. And slowly, he won Marina's forgiveness. Raphael was moved when Marina told him about his father's visit. They met a few days later, and the conversation was filled with tears and hugs. Albert apologized to his son, admitted his mistakes, and promised to be better. And Raphael, who always had a good heart, forgave him. Life began to fall into place in a way Marina had never imagined possible. Her relationship with Raphael deepened. Albert became a constant and positive presence in their lives, treating Sophia like a granddaughter and Helen with respect and affection. It was on a summer evening, a year after they had met in that luxury store in Mayfair, that Raphael took Marina back there. She didn't want to go. The memories of that place still hurt, but Raphael insisted, "Trust me, I need to show you something." They entered through the main door, no longer the service entrance. They went up to the second floor, where it had all begun. And there, among the jewelry displays that sparkled under the lights, Raphael knelt down. "Marina Santos, you came into my life when I least expected it. You taught me what courage is, what strength is, what true love is. You showed me that value has nothing to do with money or social standing, but with character. And I want to spend the rest of my life by your side, by Sophia's side, building a family based on love and respect. Will you marry me?" He opened a small velvet box, revealing a simple but beautiful ring. Marina looked around and saw that they were not alone. Helen was there with Sophia by her side, both of them smiling and crying at the same time. Albert stood a few steps behind, his eyes also misty. Beatrice and some colleagues from work were present. Even Veronica, the former store manager, was there, with an expression of regret and admiration. And Marina, the woman who was once invisible, who was humiliated in that very place, who was unjustly accused, answered with a voice firm and full of love. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." Raphael placed the ring on her finger and kissed her, as everyone applauded and cried. And in that moment, Marina understood that her story wasn't about overcoming poverty or achieving professional success. Her story was about never giving up on her own dignity, about believing she deserved love, respect, and happiness, no matter what the world said. They were married 3 months later, in a simple but beautiful ceremony in a flower-filled garden. Sophia was the flower girl, wearing a white dress with a pink sash, scattering petals down the aisle. Helen cried throughout the entire ceremony, but they were tears of joy. Albert was present, having become a loving grandfather to Sophia and a true friend to Marina. Marina's life changed completely, but she never forgot where she came from. She continued to work at the company, now as a director of projects, always mindful of the people who were invisible, always offering opportunities to those who needed them most. She created a professional training program at the company specifically aimed at vulnerable people, giving others the same chance that Raphael had given her. Sophia grew up in a house full of love, surrounded by a strong mother, a dedicated stepfather, a wise grandmother, and a grandfather who made up for years of hardness by being the gentlest of men. She became a confident girl who knew that her worth did not depend on where she came from, but on who she was. Helen lived long enough to see Marina build the family she always deserved. She lived long enough to see her granddaughter graduate, to hold great-grandchildren in her arms, to witness that love, when true, conquers any obstacle. And Marina, who was once just an invisible woman cleaning the floor of a luxury store, became living proof that it doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you are willing to go. It matters believing in yourself when no one else does. It matters having the courage to accept love when it appears, even when it seems impossible. Years later, when she told her story to new employees at the company, Marina always ended with the same words: "No one is invisible. We all matter. We all deserve dignity, respect, and love, and sometimes on our most difficult day when all seems lost, that is exactly where the most beautiful story of our life begins."